back to the channel. My name is Brad and this is the SuperCoach Pro. So I'm just going into a thing called the watch list. It's players I look at who are sort of bargain players or players that I really need to bring in that I don't have that everybody else has and that's sort of hurting me. But I'll start off with the list. I should just go lowest price. It was the lowest price anyway. So roll with Dilthorpe. He played really well on the weekend. I watched him. He kicked, I think it was 5 goals to get 91. Which I would have thought he would have got a lot higher. But forwards aren't seeming to score as high as what they have in previous years when they do kick a bag. He's one to look for if you want a early sort of downgrade option. I think he'd be alright if you could put him forward, and then if you have a swing, you could actually put him there in case Gawn or Grundy at some stage miss a week. I think he's a good option like that, or even if you had him where Flynn was and you sold Flynn to make a bit of coin if Flynn sort of ends up drying out, which I don't think he will just quite yet. But if you're really struggling to make cash, that could be an option. And then if you had Marshall, you could swing them around. So if there is a week where Gawn or Grundy gets sore and has a week off, there's alternatives like that. There's a guy, Heaney, he played really bad on the weekend. I watched him play, and I think he had some sort of glove on his hand, and he's coming down in price, so he's on my watch list. I'm a bit obviously worried because he is very injury prone, but look, he might actually, look at there, 27. He might actually be like 380k, so that wouldn't be too bad. Like especially if you got a bit of cash. I don't know what just happened there, but if you got a bit of cash, you could easily get him in your side. What has he scored? Yeah, like he hasn't scored too bad. This is injury affected. That's also injury affected. You take those two away, and he's actually played really well. So he could be sub 400, which is very likely. Sort of outside thinking, Caleb Daniel, I did have him, but look, if he goes to about 350k, which is also possible, that wouldn't be too bad for like an upgrade of 80k going from a Chapman to him. This is really left field. I understand that. Even Martin, so he misses this week, but he comes back the week after. So by like round 9, he might be 440k, and that would be a steal because if people are trading him this week, you never have to worry about them in overall points. That's for sure, unless they're playing for league and it's like a cash league or something. With Sidebottom, he attended a lot more centre bounces because of all the injuries, so he might be a guy, give another week or two. I don't really mind paying that sort of 530 mark for him. I don't trust him because he doesn't seem to be the steel bottom of old. If you've watched Collingwood games, he just looks out of touch. And last week he played alright, but just seems a bit more solid than other years too. Just more unaware. I don't know why. Sloan's on my watch list. You're probably wondering why. I just think he's had a great start to the season. He's very injury prone, but these are players I'm talking you can get for cheap that are a good cover, so you don't have to worry. Like if Sam Walsh misses 2 weeks, I always love having these cheap players you picked up for bugger all, and you can use a Sloan as your M8 for the rest of the year and use him if someone does get injured for a week or two. Marshall's on the watch list because I think he will have to finish in this line somewhere. I mean, these 3 keepers here, but he's going to have to be there, so is Martin. So, that sort of fills out these 2. Then the 3rd spot, I'm not sure who would that go to. Maybe a player like Zorko. Mitchie Duncan's on the radar. He's a really good pod. He's a really good player. They've just got a tough fixture. That's why I didn't bring him in this week instead of Oliver. Obviously, Oliver would go on field. I don't know why I put him not on field. That was because I just did a trade before just to see what my team looked like with those 2 moves, doing Hickey and Dunkley into Gawn and Oliver. Petrarca's on my watch list because I think he's playing better footy and he's actually probably in better form than what Oliver is at the moment. I feel like Oliver just peppers that 115, 130, whereas I feel like Petrarca's got a bit of a higher ceiling because he kicks more goals. Lyons is a really good pod. I've had him in previous years. When I think it actually was last year where he played really well. I really rate the bloke. Like he doesn't get tagged because they always go Neil, but they might start tagging him now that Neil's out. So I'm a bit sceptical. Steele's on my watch list. I still don't rate him as highly as a McRae or even Dunkley before he got injured. Gordon was also on my watch list too. I had Andy Brayshaw on my watch list, but I'm not sure what happened to him. I think he's about 479k. Had those 2 bad games that he got tagged in, so look, he might not be a bad steal as well, just depending on how much coin you've got. Um, Kelly's really disappointing, so he'll just be like, he'll eventually go to seriously my M9 there, and hopefully I can get some better players than Kelly. He's just no good at all. I can just hate him. But I think we should all have a watch list. And I've got a sort of a rule of thumb. I never um, think about this week's trades. I always think about the week after as well and what that will affect it too. So I always sort of play 2 ahead, sort of like the game of chess. Like if you think the short term, it ruins your long term planning. And like there's just some silly moves, like people that brought in Lachie Shoal last week. Like I think he scored 77 this week, and now 9% of competition have him, and he's so overrated. Like he scored that 160, he scored a ton, and then I think his other scores have been around the 80-70 mark. Don't go early on these guys. I went early on McRae because I had to. I can't remember why I had to, but I had to just for bench cover in case Laird wasn't playing. I think that's what my concern was. I was worried that he'd be a last minute out. So I just put McRae in early because he's got that DPP, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't play next week because I think Collingwood will rotate those young kids and he'll make money even if it is a slow burn. Look, like I said, I probably wouldn't jump on him right away after that one game. Same with Martin Frederick. I'm not sure how good his job security is. Like these Port Adelaide young guys seems to come in and out the side. I don't really want to risk it. Zorko, I think a lot of people are doing that to Dunkley. Green's good, but I'm always worried about picking him up because, I mean, we've got no one in that forward line, but he's so... Like, he's just 1 week away from doing an injury or 1 week away from punching some bloke because he's just frustrated and someone's giving him a tag or something. Like, he's always aggressive. Robin, I don't know why people are sort of bringing him in. I probably wouldn't at that price. I think you've already missed the boat picking up a player at that price. I can understand why they're getting rid of Gordon. I can't get rid of him yet, but I don't think he'll lose too much cash. Even if he drops to 50, he might lose 10k, but who cares? Same with Rowe. Sometimes it's probably just best to wait, an extra week or two. As a perfect example, like some of the guys in the top 1,000 got rid of Jordan, and the last 2 weeks he scored really well. So I love it when people get rid of rookies really early because, your rank might not be great at the moment, but dictionary. But if you've actually got all the right rookies, you're not going to really worry about your ranking until after the buys. Because if you've still held these guys and people traded him like this, you're still getting more points, like 30, 40 more points than someone that's fielding a Goulden or someone like that, like I did anyway. But even Kaczynski, like people got rid of him really early. And you just don't, because all he needed was a 100 score. Now I think he's got a negative, I don't even know what it is now, negative 48 break even or something like that. My computer's not letting me press him, but these people that cut rookies too soon, it ends up biting them in the long run for that cash gen. Like people got rid of Scott and he's pulled out a 70 and a 60, and now he's over 200, and people got rid of him at like 160k or something like that. So it's all about when to cull the rookies. I'm going to give Goulden an extra week just because I've got no other choice by the trades I had to make. And I'll probably go one up, one down. But I love good bargain players is what I'm trying to say. I don't think everyone should always go for the ones that are hurting them unless it's an Oliver that's owned by a fair amount of the competition. That's when he sort of starts to have to go, yep, I've got to grab him. Like Gawn, didn't have him for the first 6 weeks because I thought it'd be smart. Flynn would be about 400k by now, but because he missed 2 weeks, he's not. So I'm mad at that choice, but I started off the season pretty well. Had a bad week or two, but everyone does this early on anyway. But look, my side structure looks pretty good. Burnt a few trades, but I really don't mind at this stage because I think I started off with a lot more keepers than most people did. I didn't have to trade in Impey. I didn't have to trade in Zeeble, didn't have to trade in Warner, Walsh, Merritt, McRae, Laird, Stewart, Mills. Sorry, Mills I didn't start with, but like a lot of players I started with Ridley as well. So I haven't burnt too many trades on injuries, just Dangerfield, Matty Rao, and Dunkley. I've been pretty lucky. A lot of people are going to miss Martin this week, which will really affect the rookie covers, because if Rowe gets dropped or you've got Dow like me, and you might actually have to grab a rookie and not make any money and just sort of side swap a rookie for another rookie. But always keep your eye on your own little watch list. They're not always going to go to plan, and you're probably not going to even get half of these guys, but it's always just handy to go, all right, I need Martin in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, and I've got him for heaps cheaper than the rest of the competition, and I haven't got all those bad scores that 70% have. So sometimes it's good not going with the crowd early on, because you can really get these players for cheaper. That's why I didn't start off with Gorn, and it's the only one that's really bitten me because he hasn't dropped in price. You can say I didn't start with Jakey Lloyd because it's the same thing. I didn't want to spend too much money. I started with Grundy because I always knew he would hold his value. I really started with McRae as well. I went really sort of sub 650 with most of my side, and it's worked out pretty well so far. Because I didn't want to pay up too big, and I didn't start with Neil. And if you've got Neil, you've got to obviously trade him. And if you've got Dunkley as well as Neil, which a lot of people would have, yeah, it's not going to be fun for you guys, because you guys will be doing upgrades later than most. But if you can get some extra points over the buys, and then you can play some good catch up, I think that's not a bad choice if you play your rookies right. But SuperCoach is like 90% luck sometimes, and like 10% strategy. And really, to win it, you got to have a few good pods out there as well to separate you, or else you're just going to be 20 points on someone else for fielding the right rookie. But that's what we're looking at for the watch list today. That will be most of the video. I'll catch you guys on the next one.